What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Ask Alex Show live. This is another interview that I decided to do live, but this is not only just a fun interview for me. This is someone I can actually call like a friend and a brother that I've been able to build with. Man, his list of things that he has done it's just so tremendous. I mean, this is the original. The original Black Lightning. You have seen this man in S.H.I.E.L.D. You have seen this man produce his new film, A New Life, and he was even in a hit show called All American. I am so pleased to have this brother here, a director, actor, writer, producer, photographer, everything that you can think of, content creator, Mr. Choice Skinner. How are you
Hey,
doing today, Choice, man?
hey, appreciate that introduction, Alex. It's, with every interview and any show that I'm ever on, I'm listening to people saying all these things, and I'm like, who are they talking about? who is this person? But
Yeah.
no, I'm always grateful to be on anyone's show and to speak about anything in regards to my work and the industry for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm happy to have you, man, because you were first of many people I've had on my show when I was starting out interviewing people, and to build that relationship since on to have you back is another blessing, man. Especially now that the strikes are over, and like I stated, guys, who's watching, we're gonna get into his film, A New Life. But before we get into it, for the last 4 months, man, the actors had to sit down and battle a lot with the studios and the AMTTP. So I'm just wondering, before we get into it, I want to know, what was your position on what was being discussed between SAG and the studios, and how did it affect you directly in regards to making content, working, or just doing other things that you could, navigate during the strike, if you're allowed to talk about it?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, I'm a firm believer of working till you're dead. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to continue to do content, create content and stuff. And there's
Mm-hmm.
always a way, because if you're capable of doing as much as I'm able to do,
Mm-hmm.
then what they got going on in the industry that should not affect you. And it didn't affect me because, you know, all my interviews were as a director about A New Life, or
Mm-hmm.
about me being a content creator, and how do I go about doing what I do, and what advice can I give. So
Mm-hmm.
that had nothing to do with the strike. The strike was something that was a necessary thing. It was going to happen. They had been dropped the ball. They went into it knowing that they had to come out with prime, prime opportunities for the future, because actors really struggled. And with the previous contract, wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a lot that's going on that I don't think people even realize. That when I had saw that A24 will no longer be an independent film company, and they're working on big budgeted projects, that was a huge sign for me. And that happened maybe a month to almost 2 months ago. And
Yeah.
people realize what that really means.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Me as an independent filmmaker, because I'm not part of the system, I
Mm-hmm.
am when I'm an actor. So I couldn't talk about anything on the acting tip. I couldn't promote anything, because I even had a short film that I
Mm-hmm.
had got close to completing, and I pulled back on it because I'm starring in it opposite
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Dean Chapman. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. Antonio Dean Smith. So I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't talk about it or do anything with it because I was acting in it. But everything else,
Mm-hmm.
product reviews, I'm doing that now on my own YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it was always something to do.
Mm-hmm.
I shot stuff with my actors,
Mm-hmm.
stuff that we just shot it and put it in the can and just said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
when it's time we can finish it and
Mm-hmm.
put it out. And so yeah, I had class, shot
Mm-hmm.
photos. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
affect me because I'm always working. So
Mm-hmm.
what it did affect was the opportunity to make some money through acting.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people, especially even the writers. I know a lot of writers that struggled and suffered through that. But a lot of
Mhm.
these, these unions have really good financial backing to help you when you're going through it. But
Mhm.
you got to show that you're working. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I get it because when the strikes initially happened, a lot of people came out very oddly basically saying, actors, they make a lot of money, they live in LA, they live in these different parts of the world. I'm like, dude, if you sit down and talk to an actor, they probably make the same amount of money as an average person who has like maybe two jobs. Like I know actors who live in Los Angeles and they act, but they also are bartenders. So acting, yeah, acting on TV, it may get you. I mean, if you're a series regular, you're probably taken care of. But if you're like a day player, or if you're only an extra, or if you have maybe a couple lines, you're probably being paid for that 1 or 2 days, and then after that, you're just looking for the next job.
well, I'll add to that.
Yeah.
People feel they have the right to speak on it, and they do because
Mhm.
they support actors and they buy their movie tickets and
Mhm.
they watch their content. And I mean, if actors didn't have anyone to watch the content or to watch them perform,
Mhm.
why would they be around? But with that,
Right.
a lot of people understand the concept of what acting is.
Yeah.
Acting becomes almost a very spiritual thing. You're giving a piece of yourself to your performance.
Mhm.
The reason why actors make so much money is because when you're on set and you have a brutal scene that
Mhm.
lasts a good 6, 7 hours, you have to do 40 or 50 takes, which most people couldn't even conceive of doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, and the film rests on your shoulders. The next couple of days, you're sleeping because you've given so much of yourself spiritually,
Mhm.
not just physically and mentally, but spiritually. Um,
Mhm.
that's what people don't understand about it, and
Mhm.
they all look at it and they think they can do it. It's just like directing. I can direct. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
here's a
Yeah.
camera, here's
Yeah.
a cell phone. Make a 1 minute short that
Mhm.
people are gonna like, and when they look at it, they have every right to judge it, and you can't say nothing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so people don't understand the life of an actor.
Mhm.
Just like with COVID hurt me and it hurt a lot of other people because the
Mhm.
first jobs that were taken were restaurants, security jobs, nightclub jobs, and personal training jobs, and that was all my clientele. That's how
Mhm.
they.
Yeah, it's funny you bring it up. I was going to ask you about that because during that time you had to transition from Los Angeles, I believe, into Augusta, Georgia, or Atlanta, Georgia, because COVID
Augusta.
kind of just
Yeah, Augusta.
like threw everything off. How's that transition been since?
I'm rebuilding. Um, uh, Listen, if
Mhm.
anybody's watching, they need to understand what it takes
Mhm.
to become successful. No one person is an island. It used to be an old
Yeah.
phrase, no one man is an island, but we changed it to person because,
Mhm.
all of the different pronouns. But just to keep it
Yeah.
easy, no
Yeah.
one person is an island, which basically means
Mhm.
that one person, it's not every aspect of that island.
Mhm.
You do not get anywhere in your career without a community.
Yeah.
Okay, a community. I'm not talking about a team because you hear actors talk. Well, my team and my team, which I think is horrible to hear, because
Mhm.
you're dehumanizing people when you say that my team. No,
Mhm.
these are normal everyday human beings
Mhm.
who may just agree with you on what you're doing in that moment.
Mhm.
And so that's what a community is. That's how cities were built and villages were built, and they were
Mhm.
built because people agreed
Mhm.
on the vision. And
Mhm.
so what happens is that people don't understand that that's what it takes. So for me, I'm rebuilding my community because my LA
Mhm.
community, they're
Mhm.
moving on. They have to do other things. They're all looking to survive as well. Now, it's nothing for me to go back and do something and pull everybody that I know deserves to work. And that's a huge word, deserve. I'm not going to just hire people just because. In
Mhm.
fact, I've even changed a lot of the way I see things because I'm
Mhm.
very I'm very big on spoiling actors.
Mhm.
They work on
Mhm.
my set. There's no problems. It's easy going. It's fun,
Mhm.
and they just were given the role primarily because I know that they're capable of doing it. And sometimes I even write them in, or I'd see them and I'd have an idea for them, like with A New Life, Daphne McGarry Clark was cast with
Mm-hmm.
that role that she played 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it was just a matter of getting it made. I told her, I said, when I make this one day, I'm gonna give you this role,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just words, because this industry is about that. Everybody, it's all about flash and dash, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Because before we get into it, because I wanna there are some questions I wanted to ask about that, because some of your cast do seem younger than what they are now. When you were putting I know that you work on many projects, but when you were working on A New Life, were you working on additional projects during that time, or were you just said focused on that? Because you shot some of that during the pandemic too, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I came right off of doing a pilot with my student, Jason Ivy. He had a pilot called what was the name of that pilot? Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, he had a pilot and he brought me in on that. And then right after that, I went into doing A New Life, but at the same time I did Hope with Danny Royce. And there was another project that I did. Because I came off of doing, I did Right Where You Need to Be, and then I went into Danny's pilot. Uh and then from Danny's pilot, I went into A New Life, and at the same time I was doing Danny Royce's uh Hope. So yeah, literally I finished, I was shooting a New Life. It was a 16-day shoot. And out of that 16 days, there was 6 days planned for Danny's short.
Mhm.
And I was so mad at him because I was like, I told you keep it at 5 days.
Mhm.
And he snuck that extra day in, but we got it done, man. We got it done. Like my A team, Delon, who was my AC, and Quincy and Chase, they they
Mhm.
we kind of did a split routine. Like we kind of went from A New Life to doing Danny Royce's Hope. And then
Mhm.
because you can see pictures, literal pictures of us on, in 1 week, we would
Mhm.
shoot several days on A New Life and then
Mhm.
several days on Hope. It was wild, man. I mean, I don't know why I do that kind of stuff, but I just enjoy creating. So,
Mhm.
but I
Wow,
know there was something else that I did too. I can't remember it right now, but it was another project that I did right in between Jason's project and going right into A New Life.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. That's interesting. Okay, real quick for the people who are watching, we're gonna hear a word from our sponsors for just a second. Choice will jump right back into your interview in about 1 minute. Okay. I want to take this moment and thank our sponsors, Blurred Creations. Blurred Creations is a independent Black-owned anime apparel company that produces high quality apparel on their website. If you go to Blurred Creations, you get things from shirts to accessories to all different types of apparel of your favorite anime characters. And guess what, guys? We're running a special on this particular website. If you type in the promo code MOMENTUM, you get 15% off each purchase of any item on the website. So if you are a supporter of mine and you want to support this independent Black company, go to their website at Blur Creations, type in the word momentum, and you get 15% off each purchase on their website. I want to thank you guys again for supporting our sponsors, and also, guys, be a sponsor and a subscriber of our YouTube channel, Momentum Media. I want to take this moment and thank our sponsors, Blurred Creations. Blurred Creations is a independent Black-owned anime apparel company that produces high quality apparel on their website. If you go to Blurred Creations, you get things from shirts to accessories to all different types of apparel of your favorite anime characters. And guess what, guys? We're running a special on this particular website. If you type in the promo code MOMENTUM, you get 15% off off each purchase of any item on the website. So if you are a supporter of mine and you want to support this independent black company, go to their website at Blur Creations, type in the word momentum, and you get 15% off each purchase on their website. I want to thank you guys again for supporting our sponsors, and also, guys, be a sponsor and a subscriber of our YouTube channel, Momentum Media. All right, and that was a word from our sponsors from Blur Creations. Type in the promo code Momentum, and you will get, I think, 25% off each item purchase. Now let's go ahead and go back into our interview. So I wanted to ask you about a new life. So I remember the day you finished everything, and you had a basically like a red carpet event, and this was during like when COVID started to die down just a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but started to die down just a little bit. And you had like this big thing. You went back to LA. You invited all the actors and people who know you. Describe your debut for your film that day, and what was the energy like? What was it like showcasing your baby essentially?
Well, it was it was literally almost days to the day that I had left. Like, we finished the film, and
Mm-hmm.
then 2 days later I left LA. That's And
Mm-hmm.
so a year later to the
Mm-hmm.
time, we had a screening
Mm-hmm.
in Westwood.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice, man. It was, because I've always paid attention to screenings
Mm-hmm.
and how people put them together,
Mm-hmm.
and so I even sent out a letter to the actors and said, look great, look good. We're going to have Image
Mm-hmm.
Wire and Wire Image and Getty images there, and some of them
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand what that meant, or they didn't know if that
Mm-hmm.
was real, but
Mm-hmm.
it ended up being real.
It's
So,
very real because I saw those
hey,
posts. Yeah,
well, I'm going to tell you, Alex, for me, if you're not raising the bar, then what are you doing? And I say this
exactly.
to every acting class, every martial art instruction. I'm like, why are we here? What are we? If you're not aiming to be the
Mm-hmm.
best at what you're doing, why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to be famous. They want to be rich, and listen, there's nothing wrong with that. But
Mm.
you'll be forgotten.
Yeah, Don Cheadle said something similar to that. Yeah. Yeah, everyone wants to be famous, but no one wants to act.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
and so with that regard, it's like, how do you find your way?
Mhm.
Because going back a little bit to the strike, it's
Mhm.
going to remove the middle class of actors.
Mhm.
So you're either in the big films or you're
Yeah.
creating your own content. And if you're creating your own content, because
Mhm.
right now Tubi is the UPN, WB, CW, Fox of the
We were
90s.
we
Remember
gonna
that?
get into that. We gonna get into that. Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
if they don't raise their ability or raise the content up, because there's a glut
Mhm.
right now,
Yeah.
right? And I knew that when I was doing the screening, because back to the screening
Mhm.
was a thing to celebrate with everyone that was involved. I mean, we shot the film in 16 days during
Mhm.
the pandemic, during lockdown. There was no SAG, there was nothing, there was nobody around. My actors just
Mhm.
wanted to work, they wanted to do this film.
Mhm.
And so we were on set doing it.
Mhm.
And that that screening was a celebratory moment, and for
Mhm.
everyone that came through to help, because
Mhm.
I faced so many different things just to get
Mhm.
it done. When you're creating a film, people don't realize, like, and it's one thing, like I said, there's a lot of stuff out there, right?
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
you see people, oh, great cousin, y'all got
Mhm.
it done, and they
Mhm.
applauding them.
Mhm.
But is it something you'd watch 5 times in a row? Could you watch it 5 times in a row? Could you watch it and gain something from it? Is it uplifting you or inspiring you or making
Mhm.
black people look a little different than what we used to seeing? Because there's
Mhm.
such a power and a dynamic in regards to media when it comes to
Mhm.
black people, and we have a responsibility. NAACP just sent out a newsletter telling
Mhm.
everybody, yo, like, this is how y'all need to start showing black people. Very
Mhm.
interesting.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
it twice.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're much more than just I mean, I think Black Panther did a good job. The first one did a good job of showcasing us, but like we're more than just that. Like, like from an everyday life. So I can't wait to get into this because now the film, I watched the film, man, and it was actually humbling watching a man. It's funny because I kind of put myself in the main character's shoes, him losing his wife and going back in that world of dating. And I'm like, it's and I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it, but um it's basically about a man who has to rebuild his life with his daughter and going back into what he feels is normal. But the thing is, he's still grieving his wife. He's still
Mhm.
grieving his wife, who's played by Daphne, lovely actor and a friend to the show as well. Tell us how you came up with this story, because Choice, I'm not gonna lie, as I'm watching this, um I felt like I feel like this with every director slash writer who makes a movie, because I feel like this story was a piece of you to a certain extent, of either you knew someone who went something similar like this, or maybe you personally, or something of that nature. So when you were crafting the story, how did it come about? Like what were you thinking when you were building a new life?
Well, yeah. First off, it was inspired
Mhm,
in several different pieces in several different ways. I had met a
mhm,
guy who had just lost his wife, a young black brother.
mhm,
We struck up a conversation.
mhm,
I think it was a Wingstop or something like that,
mhm.
and he was telling me that he had lost his wife, uh, you know, to cancer.
Oh,
He wasn't
wow.
even older than 25, man. They had been married for like since high school, and he had lost his wife to cancer. And I was like, man, like what is that like? Like,
Mhm,
you know, with all the stories that we hear about young black men,
mhm.
and then he was a single father.
Yeah,
He had two kids, you know what I'm saying? And it was
yeah.
like, wow, and he's raising his kids. And it's like,
Mhm,
wow, what is that like? Like, cause I don't know what that's like, but
mhm,
it was an image of what I wanted people to see in the world in regards to black men.
mhm,
That was an
mhm,
image of what I wanted them to see. And I was like,
mhm,
okay, so yeah, they're gonna see this. And
mhm,
then Kenny Green from the group Intro, the 90s group
mhm,
Intro.
mhm,
The second album that came out was called New Life.
mhm,
And that album meant a lot to me because it was part of my migration to LA. And, I
mhm,
was on my own. I didn't have family and friends out here
mhm,
in LA. And, but the song meant a lot. It's the lead song on the album, the title track.
mhm,
And the words hit me in a profound way. So I was in an acting class where there wasn't much, like these young black actors nowadays, they got it good, man. There
mhm,
wasn't much material for black people,
mhm,
and I was known for being the one to bring mahogany in New Jack City. I
mhm,
transcribe that stuff and bring it in, right? Because
mhm.
I wasn't understanding Goodwill Hunting. That's not my
Yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah, that's not my story either.
That's not
Yeah,
my story. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I brought stuff in, and that's
Mhm,
kind of what led me on to become a writer.
mhm,
So A New Life was my first script that I ever wrote. I
mhm,
co-wrote a script in '99 with a friend, a
mhm,
student and friend, a little
mhm,
action sci-fi film that one day I hope to get made, but
mhm,
it's gonna take money. But anyway,
mhm,
I said, man, I just need to go ahead and write something where I know I can get it made. And
mhm,
my thought process at the time was I can get it made. I can get Morris Chestnut stars the lead, and Lisa Ray to
mhm,
star opposite him, or get a Latina or whatever. I'm thinking all of
mhm.
this, and I'm going around, and people are like, "You want to make this?" Laughing, laughing.
Wow.
You know, I did get
Mhm.
it to Lisa Ray, but she never responded. So
Oh,
uh,
wow.
it was one of those things where
Uh,
I at that time there was no way of getting it made. It was like, if
mhm.
you don't have the money back in them days, if you didn't have the money, the film wouldn't get made.
Yeah,
Period.
Now
Now,
films are being made on these things.
man, yeah, on cell phones, man, you know, it's cutting edge, man.
Mm-hmm.
And but back then there was no way. I mean, you know, maybe shooting on the DVX 100, but you know, you would still need a cast and a crew, and you would need a serious crew because at that time even lighting was different. You know, you didn't
Yeah.
have LED lights and stuff that was movable and portable. The lights were
Mm-hmm.
heavy and hot. You had to know how to light. You had to know how to use a light meter. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't move quick. You know, there's no way
Mm-hmm.
I could have got it made unless I had a budget. And so I just put it to the side. But that's how I came up with the name and the idea of the story. The pregnancy scene, her having the pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
it was somebody I had met, a black brother and his wife. They told me the story of how they had the baby on the side of the road. So I was like, man, that's a great idea. So it was an accumulation and a combination of many stories of black people.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that A New Life is my love letter to the black community and
Mm-hmm.
also to black men because no one tells stories like that about us, man. You know, we're either getting
Mm-hmm.
cuffed up, killed, killing each
Mm-hmm.
other, you
Mm-hmm.
know, getting turned out.
Mm-hmm. Or
You
being
know,
made a mockery of
yeah,
some
man.
kind. Yeah.
It is like, you know, so it saddens me that, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
strike hit because it would have been nice for the brothers to show up and show out, some fraternities to support this film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still holding them accountable. I mean, we'll see what happens when the AVOD starts to hit, but they can't say ain't nobody never did nothing for them.
Exactly, because like guys, and again, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but I would definitely go see this movie because it does look at our people in a positive light. Um, this is not your typical black story because even when watching it, like Choice, you brought up a good point. Goodwill Hunting and movies like that, although they're great movies, that doesn't speak to me. When I watch this movie, a lot of people don't talk about how black men can transition losing someone they love and now having to raise a child by themselves. The closest thing I can think to it, which is, I mean, think to it, which is this movie called Daddy's Little Girl with Idris Elba, where he didn't lose his wife just left him, and he was still trying to you know
Raised the three girls. Yeah, I'll tell
yeah,
you, man, it's
yeah,
funny because I wrote A New Life
hmm,
before that movie, right? That
yeah,
was Tyler Perry starting to make his climb.
man,
And people would hit me up. They were like, "Oh my God, I think they stole your idea." People who read the script
hmm,
and knew about A New Life, they were like, "They read, they're stealing your idea." I was like, "They're not." I said, "He's not going to tell it the way I'm going to tell it." You know, first
yeah,
off, he cast it wrong. How you going to cast a British man to play a Black American? You know what I'm saying? Like that you know, and Idris was still coming out. He was still new, so he was still learning our culture.
yeah.
The movie was trash. I'm just gonna keep it real. Like
Oh
good,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
God bless them, they did it, but
Mm.
there's a depth about black men that has to be unearthed. That you know, they need to stop taking us as a threat and understand we cry too, man. We have pain, you know,
Yeah.
and we, there's a heavy movement now for
Mm,
therapy and
mm.
black men, this and that, that and that. But it's not genuine. It's just okay. It's kind of like having a holiday. Oh,
Yeah.
y'all got a holiday? Okay, we got Kwanzaa. It's like
Yeah. Now we have
it's
Juneteenth.
well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
deeper than that. I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm not a father or a husband, but
Yeah.
you know, the responsibility because they celebrate women all the time. Oh,
Yeah.
she gotta be a superwoman, but yeah, she ain't doing it by herself. She married.
Yeah, yeah. She has a partner right next to her, and
Hmm.
yeah, and essentially this is what that this movie touches on. And like to that point, you're right because when you watch, no, and this is no shade towards Tyler Perry if anyone's watching and knows Tyler Perry, but I was not. That movie came out right when I was young. I wasn't necessarily a fan of it, but there is a contrast difference because this is an actual black family from here or black man who had a family from here who lost something and having to rebuild it all. And there's a funny scene. Another friend of the show, Kendra, who plays Brenda. She meets the main character, and they have
Their
their
moment.
moments. Yes. But it's funny to me because I started thinking, I'm like, you know, it's easy to fall for the first person that's interested in you, but he ultimately doesn't end with her. And I have to ask you, since you know these actors personally and they have that moment, was it odd shooting certain scenes or was it just natural? It came natural.
Well, big shout out to Kendra. You know,
Yeah.
Kendra Mack is one of Hollywood's brightest stars. I'm throwing her in everything I got coming up. And you
Mm-hmm.
know, I got another project, and I just told her this role is yours, and sent it to her, and she accepted it. And
Mm-hmm.
once I'm budgeted up, she's working again, and that
Mm-hmm.
one's, you know, a little bit more, you know, prominent and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
She made it so easy. She, you know, she's a beautiful black woman who understands her strength and her sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
and that made it easy because
Mm-hmm.
usually, you know, women are a little bit more, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
You know, but it was the
yeah,
opposite. It was the opposite. Chris was a little bit more reserved, which was
yeah,
shocking to me because, you know, he's one of the co-producers and he knew, you know, so, you know,
yeah.
you would have to speak to him about it. But, um, you know, there were some things, we had some hitches in which we shot the scene the first time and it was not right at all. And so we
uh-huh,
had to reshoot it. And I was like,
uh-huh,
I asked them to reshoot it. Because, you know, for me, even when
uh-huh,
I've shot people nude in
uh-huh.
photography, I'm
Uh-huh.
very, very professional.
Yeah.
You know, I may do things to lighten the mood or break the moment, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's work, and I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable, and
Mm-hmm.
I damn sure don't want to feel uncomfortable. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because even in breaking through, people would get up on stage, you know, butt bookie ass naked, and it was
Yeah.
like, get up and work. You know, I didn't start it; the actors
Yeah.
wanted to do it to grow. It was a
Yeah.
safe environment. So I would say, you know, like I don't know if I'll have another one that I'll
Mm-hmm.
do in a film. If I do,
Mm-hmm.
it may be just me and somebody that I know. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of tough. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
tough, and it's not. But Kendra made it a walk in the park. You you would only be blessed to have someone like her on your set in all regards. I mean, Kendra, her father had she had people that her uncle died. You
Mm-hmm.
know, her father died. I mean, it was a lot that happened, and she was still on set, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
didn't skip a beat. Was
Mm-hmm.
on set the next day, and we're looking like she okay.
Mm-hmm.
Worked, knew her lines. you
Yeah.
know, I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like if I could in 20 movies, you know, just hire her. It's a done deal. It's a
Yeah.
done
Yeah. Shout out to Kendra, very talented actress. Definitely someone that's upcoming. Definitely gonna have her on the show
deal.
as
Yeah.
well. But I
And,
really
and
enjoyed
and let me add, Alex, really quick, that I
yeah,
created the scene because of, you know, its current day. You know,
yeah.
you definitely want to be compatible. P Valley's the number one TV show in the black community right
Mm-hmm.
now. And
Yeah.
I mean, every time I, you know, scan through it, I'm like, Jesus, you know. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to compete in that regards. I just wanted people to understand that we as black people are sexy. We
Yeah.
are sexual beings. And, you know, with him, that character, with Ronald, um, the main thing that you hear through the film, he ain't had sex in 6 years. 6 years, yeah. So what
Yeah.
what would that be like? We would rob the audience if we didn't get an idea of what that's like.
Yeah. Yep. 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 And man, 6 years. That sounds like a prison sentence, man. It does.
Well, that was by choice for him. And, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I picked Chris Rouse. He's, you know, gorgeous
Yeah.
black man, and you know, he's a
Yeah.
great actor, and women automatically gravitate to him, right? They
Mm,
see him, boom, right? So that it's a
mm,
no-brainer, and he was capable of doing it. He grew
mm,
uh very fast in my class, and under 2 years, he grew really quick. So
mm,
um it was a no-brainer, but to have that character, to be that type of man,
mm,
and he chooses because of love
mm,
not to be with another woman. Well, what does that say about black men? You know, because black men are looked at as gorillas and
mm,
sexual deviants, and you
mm,
know, this goes all the way back to Birth of a Nation, where we run around and we grab women and we rip their clothes off. We're mandingos, and you know, we're
yeah.
taking down our leg, and you
Mm,
know, this character loved his wife so much he didn't even want to look at another woman.
yeah. Yeah.
And Kendra's character, Brenda, is the
Uh-huh.
one that takes the lead, and she's aggressive, and he
Yeah.
didn't know how to handle that. He's like, whoa.
Yeah, that's why it's so funny because it's like it's a dynamic shift. Like he's been so used to his wife. Now that he has another woman he has to deal with, it's like, and this is his first partner ever since his wife. I'm glad. The reason why I love this film is because people don't talk about that in our community, like having to, because we're so, like we were just talking earlier about how black men are seen as, oh, they have a whole bunch of women that they refer to either hoe or bitch or things of that nature, but this was a faithful man to his wife and now gone, and he, to your point, stayed faithful to himself when he didn't have to, could have had a whole phase but didn't, and this is his first sexual partner, and he's like, he never says it, but you can see it in his mind. He's like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Like, I
Right.
don't know if this is where I should be going. It's kind of like he's battling morally than physically, which
Yes.
which I thought was a good depiction on screen. And I also love those I call them ghost scenes where Daphne keeps popping up,
Hmm.
and she basically, I won't spoil it, but basically there's an element of him letting her go.
Hmm.
T- tell
Hmm.
tell me how you got to that point of him reconciling that he has to like let her go in order to move on, because that's hard.
Well, yeah, and the film consistently speaks on that. You got the
Mhm,
Mama Joan Moten. Shout out to Joan Moten.
mhm,
Her character is
yeah, yeah,
Foxy, Roxanne is
yeah,
constantly letting him know, giving him that wisdom. Like,
mhm,
but I also wanted for people to understand that, although everyone is doing, well, not everyone, a lot of people are out there doing what they can to destroy, the knowledge of God that we have in us, and the
mhm,
knowledge of God that we have in our community, that
mhm,
some of us still abide by that. And so,
mhm,
um, you know, to say God moves in mysterious ways,
mhm,
um,
mhm,
it's one of those things where a lot of times we hold ourselves back because,
mhm.
we're looking for a major sign, right? And the sign is
Yeah.
slapping
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And so then God gives you this really hard sign by taking.
Mhm,
You be like, okay, you won't appreciate it. I'll take it. It's kind of
mm,
like what he did
mhm,
with Jonah when he, takes the fig tree away. The
mhm,
and and so it's one of those things where a lot of times we don't realize that a lot of that knowledge and a lot of the spiritual growth that we need is still there, man. There's a lot of people that I don't believe in God, and I had to make sure, like, yo, some of us, we still lean on the Lord. Like,
yeah,
we
yeah,
we can't make any decision and get through our life, just on humanistic values and,
mhm,
worldly viewpoints. Like, we need that
mhm,
strong spiritual thing to help us overcome and understand. And
mhm,
so that's
mhm,
kind of why you see that. He loved her so much, man. He sees her everywhere, and we
mhm,
all experience that, past loves, or
mhm,
different things. And you
mhm.
there's an old song. What is the name of that song? That's How I Feel by Ambrosia. and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the song basically talks about how this guy gets married years later, but he bumps into his old love, and he goes,
mhm,
sometimes when I make love with his new wife, he still sees her face. And
mhm.
I was just like, wow, that's stuff like that is powerful to me, because
Yeah,
people may not talk about it, maybe to their therapist or to a close friend, but a lot of people experience that, man.
yeah,
They just don't want to be alone, so they accept the relationship they're in, but they still
mm,
love somebody else.
mhm. Yeah, and that's I'm glad, because again, this is why I'm glad you showed it, because in the black community you don't really see that. Like you see, like when I firmly believe, because this is the principles that I live by. When you genuinely love someone and they're gone, whether it's either through a sickness or through death, or even if they happen to split up, that love doesn't just evaporate. It takes time for you to get over that said person. So when you see Chris's character like going through his dating phase but also meeting the woman that he ultimately ends up with, Even he even called he even there's a scene where he calls the woman he's dating his wife's name, and she's like, and I was like, oh my god, you put this in the movie. I'm like, wow, like that's from a mental level, it's like, whoa. So it was a very, without spoiling anything, it was a very heart-wrenching movie with a good message at the end. I wanted to ask you because again, you put this together in 16 days during the pandemic. You had your actors and things of that nature. I wanted to talk to you about distribution. Now, we were talking about Tubi just a few minutes ago. And so far, anyone who can watch this movie is available on Amazon Prime, Verizon, iOS. How do you pronounce it?
Bios,
The,
Voodoo.
yeah, so you can buy it, you can definitely watch it through multiple streams like that. I've noticed a lot of creators, black creators, are going to Tubi. Even like I call them internet comedians like Jess Hilarious, DC Young Fly. Some of their movies are going to Tubi. Fun fact, believe this or not, LeBron James's Whack House Party movie is on Tubi. But anyway, which should have never been made anyway. But anyway, um have you considered putting your film on Tubi? Because I'm hearing that a lot of independent creators are making a lot of money from their ad revenue because it's guarantee ads that they're putting on your film. And like you said, Tubi has become the UPN, the I remember Channel 55, like W55. I remember that as a kid where you got, one on one, Moesha, sister, sister. Like I remember that era vividly. So, as a black creator yourself, have you had conversations with the people at Tubi? And if you have, what are those conversations looking like?
Yeah. Well, I have an aggregator. I have a third party distribution
Mm,
company, Buffalo 8. They're the ones that handle
mm,
putting the film on platforms. You have
mm,
different platform aggregators like Film Hub. A lot of people
mm,
that are on Tubi went through Film Hub and
mm,
Indie Rights,
mm,
Indie. It's what is it? Indie something. There's another aggregator. These aggregators are the ones that reach out to those platforms. You can't just, I know there's some people who have a direct line and pipeline
mm,
to Tubi, but a lot of them won't share,
mm,
because they're
mm,
looking to get their next film off. And there's
mm.
always this thing of competition. That's the downside of the black community when it comes to filmmaking. Everybody wants to be number one, and they don't realize we can all be number 10 together. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? As number one, you know.
right, right.
And that's how you build a community. But
Mm,
all films will probably end up on Tubi. But like I said, I have a strong feeling, like how it was with those other networks.
mhm,
What's coming? You know what I
mhm,
mean? It's going to be really hard for people to get their films out
mhm,
because it's a glut. And I wouldn't have no problem. I mean, my film is going to, in the next quarter, go into a different format as far as how it'll be available.
mhm,
And that's going to be in February, so I can speak on that because that's not too far away.
mhm,
But and I think people will more people will see the film then,
mhm, mhm,
Uh, but yeah, I don't. I mean, if Tubi came to me and asked me to do a movie, I'd do it, and
mhm,
people would be shocked. I have a director buddy named Brian. Brian, what's Brian's last name? Montgomery.
mhm,
He hired me to be in a short years
mhm,
ago, and now
mhm,
he just won the Black Film Festival, the Black
mhm,
Film Festival this year for
mhm,
his movie Cinnamon. And
mhm,
Cinnamon
mhm,
was produced financially by Tubi.
mhm,
Cinnamon is a phenomenal film. I mean,
mhm,
if you like Tarantino type of films, he did that with
mhm,
a black cast. And so it's an
mhm,
amazing film. It has Pam Grier in there and
mhm,
Damon Wayans. And
mhm.
I'm hoping that, for the award season that they actually do something with that because Brian did a phenomenal job with that. But Tubi financed it. They put the money behind it. They just didn't market it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Because
mean, but that's the issue with being a filmmaker. You can't. It's not just about making a film. I would go a different route now had I knew that in regards to a new life. Um, I
Mhm,
would go a different route because it's
mhm,
really about how you market your film. Because you have the best film on the planet, but if nobody watches it, it's not even about making the money. because as filmmakers, we have that level of narcissism that, we want people to look at our content.
Mm-hmm.
And if no one sees it, if you don't have the ad revenue or the money to buy ads or to get reviews, because people charge for reviews now,
Mm-hmm.
no one's going to see it. So your
Mm-hmm.
platform is a great platform for, people who create content. And, you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting here, you're talking about the film. So
Yeah, yeah. Like my motto is, especially with my community, is that if you're creating something of any kind, and I'm definitely going to be interested in it, I want to bring you guys on and talk about it because as a filmmaker myself, directing my own content, producing my content, I'm still new to it. So if I could create something where we can all link up with one another and promote each other's projects, like you said, we can all be 10 together, which will bring us to number one. I'm
yes,
definitely all about of inclusion with that, and I think like to your point, with cinnamon. By the way, I didn't know anything about cinnamon until that time you shared it, and I remember watching it on Tubi, and I'm like, oh wow, this is actually a really good movie, and I didn't know. I mean, when you hear things about Tubi, they say, oh, Tubi is the place where they dump a lot of movies that I dump a lot of movies that nobody watched, but that's actually not
Tubi.
true.
They say Tubi is the place where films go to die.
Exactly. But I'm like, but if you go there, like there are a couple Fast and Furious movies on there.
Yeah,
Like old like we were talking about UPN, Malcolm and Eddie's on there, the Steve Harvey show's on there. All of those shows were like UPN shows. So like I think if anything, it kind of backfired on people because it's come one of the hot new streaming service that is free.
for
You
now,
know,
for
for
now.
now.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
because if you understand the model on how these film platforms do what they do,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about getting people to see that you're number one and then
Mm-hmm.
switching the model. And that's what they
Mm-hmm.
did with Netflix. That's what they did
Mm-hmm.
with Hulu. They all do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Redbox is still working on figuring out how to switch the model up.
Yeah.
Um, Tubi is using the filmmakers to hey, okay, yeah, we get people to come and this is the advertising, and then they go to their advertisers and say, look, this is how
Mm-hmm.
many viewers we have. So is it really free? You know what I'm saying? Your
Mhm,
time to watch an ad,
mhm.
that's a
Yeah,
cost.
yeah, there is a cost. There is a cost. I will say because it happens. It can happen at a very climactic part in your film, or it can happen in a very subtle part where you're just paying attention. Either way,
Well, that's
there
why
is
you
a
got to make a
cost.
good film, Alex.
Yeah,
Make a good
yeah.
film. That's what I tell people all the time. Any interview, anytime I'm on a program, I tell people make a good, not just. I get great. Great is Fletcher from Whiplash. He says the worst thing that anyone could ever tell you is that you did a good job. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll go that far. Just make a good movie.
Mhm.
Make sure that the muzzle flares and the muzzle flashes look realistic. The blood
Yes.
look good. Take a little bit more initiative. James and Black and I, we talk about it all the time.
Oh my
That's his
gosh.
driving nail in the coffin, man. Bad muzzle flashes.
Oh, and if you're gonna do this is just some a filmmaker special effect tip. If you're gonna do those green screen plates of blood splatter, at least clean it up where it looks a little bit real. Because
Yeah,
when you see it, it's so out of place. And I'm like, come on, bruh. Like there's a reason why on Final Cut Pro you can trace those things. But
yeah,
anyway, like if you're gonna do green screen plates and muzzle flashes, you can clean that up. And
yeah,
you don't have to pay somebody to do it. It's really YouTube University,
yeah.
everybody. Just
YouTube
but
University. There you go.
absolutely. But I wanted to ask you really quickly about I saw a project that you actually promoted after the strike was ending. That short film you were referring to, called Two Killers in a Car. Now you did put out a little clip before the strike where you guys are just talking, but it's like the clip's like 10 seconds or
Yeah,
something like that, and I'm
yeah,
like, so what was the premise of this movie of this film, and when can we see a trailer, or where can we see it dropping fully?
yeah. Well, it's definitely a 2024 release.
Mm,
Right now, we are courting film festivals. Some of the top ones. We're kind of waiting to see if we get accepted. We'll know something by February, and it'll be nice because the film is only, and I always tell people, make your shorts, the running time, get them under 9 minutes, get them under as low as possible. If it's a 5 minute short, that's great. Um, Two Killers in the Car is 8 minutes. So, it's a good thing that, people would probably put in the film festival. And basically it's just two hitmen in a car, and one of them has a midlife crisis. My character, he has a midlife crisis in regards to realizing that they've been doing their hits, and for the last couple of months it's been nothing but black men.
Oh
and
wow.
we hadn't noticed it. We just been killing, like the syndicate has been sending us like different hits, and they've been black men. And I'm like, I can't believe we didn't notice that. Like, what I'm saying? Like, you would think that they think Black Lives Matter. So it's dark humor. It's very
Yeah.
dark, but it's humorous, and it's the precursor to a feature that I want to do, where these two guys are it's the night of the hit, and they're walking around having these soliloquies and these monologues about what it is to be black in America as a hitman. So
Wow.
yeah, and Antonio Dean Smith, he's a good friend of mine, a business partner of mine, and a martial art brother. And it was his first job. He'd never ever acted a day in his life, but I knew when I wrote it in maybe 2-3 hours. I knew he could play it. And I said, listen, man, I'm gonna write something for you, because he he's a rapper, and he has the artistic ability. And we rehearsed it for a couple of days, and we shot it in one night in front of his house. And two guys in the car, because listen, 70% of film is two people sitting and talking, and it's the writing that makes the difference. So it was a great idea that I came up with, and I said to myself, this is going to hit people, because it talks about a lot of political stuff as well. So it's if you like real dark humor, because I know some people like slapstick, some people like over the top humor, some people like cerebral humor. I like to do dark humor because dark humor is based on reality, and you start asking these questions, like, we didn't notice that we were just killing black men. Like that offends me. you
Yeah.
know
Wow. It's like you've been killing black men this whole time and you're just now realizing.
and then they, to spoil it too much, but they go over when was the last time they killed this or this culture or that culture. They have this, they're looking back, and they're reminiscing, and you get to see a lot of who they are by how they're talking, because you go, oh, okay. And like my character is he's just offended. He's like, and the other one's like, he don't care. He's like,
Wow.
as long as you
That
get
that that sounds interesting. I definitely want to see that
absolute,
film when that
yeah.
drops.
So a trailer should be coming soon. Hopefully before the end of the year, a trailer will be up.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. I am definitely interested in Two Killers in a Car. Like I said, the footage you guys put out already, like I said, it was very minimum, but it did get me intrigued. And then yesterday, not yesterday, but a couple of days ago, you posted the poster for it, and I was like, oh wow, this looks interesting. But speaking of Antonio, um, last year you and him had a podcast. And you guys wrapped up season 1. Will we be seeing a season 2 anytime soon?
Yeah. Great question. Definitely we are. I just want to approach my show differently in regards to how it's covered. So, I have to get these cameras. I want a 3-angle, because there's times when we were speaking, it was always a 1-angle shot, a 2-shot of us just there. And it's a lot of work to go in and move stuff around. I don't have that time, honestly.
Yeah.
So I know I can control the show better if I have the 3-camera output, and I'm able to do that. I mean, of course, everyone on Instagram, it didn't matter because it's 1 angle. But on YouTube, I want to be able to just, click on him when he's saying something, click on me, click back on us both, and so that's what the delay has been. But we talk about it. We talked about it the other day, and he understands, because he's itching to get back into talking on these great topics. It kind of beat me up a little bit towards the end of the season, because there was stuff coming out in the news that I'm just like, I don't know if I got it. I don't, it's thank God Sexy Red didn't come out before we ended the show.
Oh my God.
That would have been a topic constantly, man.
Man, like, cause I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lie. My favorite episode is that episode where you guys were discussing the Woman King,
Yeah.
and there were so many people. I mean, there were people who understood what you guys were saying, but you had your detractors, and I'm like, I think you guys are missing the point. Like, and I don't want. I'll just say, from knowing you guys, I understand that where you guys were coming from, and actually watching the movie, because I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it when it came out on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that you had said, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, I mean, that's why I think the podcast is very needed, because there's certain things in film or just things in life in general that need to be spoken out against. And with you being in the film industry and working with so many people, I mean, last person I interviewed was Farley, and he was telling me about a time where he was doing I think a scene or a play where where you were a part of, where he was doing the scene fully naked, and you made sure that no one was like talking about him or coming at him crazy. You make sure that he was protected, and a lot of people don't understand that it's good to have people like that in your corner, because you don't know what could happen or how it may affect a person's acting ability. So I appreciate you being a part of this community and raising up young actors and actresses to do the best that they can in the roles that they have. Which leads me to my last question. And I had someone ask me this, but I wanted to ask you directly. Will we see, after the cancellation of Black Lightning, a Black Lightning 2?
Listen, it's such a I was I'm working as, like I said, right now as a product reviewer. Like I'm actually behind. I'm doing one for Boris FX, and then I got another one for Hollyland. And I was using some footage from when I directed Black Lightning, right? Like just, and I put that into the thing to help push a point that I was making. And I said, man, is that a shot in the dark? Is that something where, because I remember telling everybody on the set, I'm like, you'll never get another role like this. And it wasn't out of angst, or it wasn't out of just, yeah, be grateful. It was just a thing of understanding the industry. Superhero films right now are struggling.
Yes.
Would,
Yes.
would I want to do a superhero film? Would I want to direct it? They would have to really have hands off. They'd have to go back to how Blade was made, the first Blade with Wesley Snipes, and have hands off. New Line just threw money at him and said, go ahead and do what you want to do. And Wesley took it so serious and made it what it was.
Yeah.
When you hear these stories about how these films are made now, to where even DaCosta, she just left the film. She went and started working on another film.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
listen, it's, I know what I can do if I had a great budget. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Even if Star Wars came and Disney said they'd have to have hands off, I'd sit Kathleen down and be like, look, I know what you got going on with all this other stuff, but let me do what I need to do. And that's a hard thing for people, because on one hand, they're saying it's about the money, but really it's about all the politics behind it. Well, you got to have this in it. You got to do that, and you got to have this. And so if I did something like that, if DC called me and say, "Oh, we're gearing up for the Black Lightning film. You're one of the contenders. You're one of the people that we're considering." I'm like, cool, but to be honest with you, these are some of the things that have to happen. You guys can't be over my shoulder. I'm like that as a DP. When I DP for other filmmakers, I make sure I have a monitor. I don't want nobody over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Here's your monitor, whether it's wireless or it's stationed. Here's the video village. You tell me what you want me to do. Don't be over my shoulder. And so that's especially as a Black filmmaker, man. It's very rare to get that type of carte blanche. It's almost impossible. But I mean, if somebody's watching this and they know somebody over at WB, and I know that people did when I came out with the Black Light, they did send it to people. They never hit me up, so I never got any meetings. So
Man, well, if I know, well, one thing I know for sure, if it's for you, God will definitely make it for you. And
amen.
one thing I know for sure is that you definitely have the talent to direct essentially anything, from drama to action to comic book to even animation. I believe you are talented in every vein. When
Thank you. My next one is a horror film. This Who is Cicero?
uh-huh.
And I'm working with Vincenzo Productions, Tony Germanario. He's been a friend and a partner of mine for many, many years.
Hmm.
And we've been pushing throughout the last couple of weeks and months to get ready because everyone said, "What's next for you?" And it's like, all right, it's this horror film.
Hmm.
And Cicero, we created a character who is he's the next in the line of traditional horror icons.
Hmm. So
Um,
is this like when you say traditional icons, are we talking like Michael Myers? Oh wow.
yeah,
So something that never dies.
but black.
But black.
And so,
Okay.
I'm thinking that's been part of the issue. The black
Uh,
guy who's immortal, killing people.
yeah.
They bombed the remake of the Candyman. So that's kind of I shifted into gear years ago with Cicero. I came up with this idea, and I said, man, I want to do this, and I can't really
Mhm,
talk too much about it, but
mhm,
I'm working on some things that help sell the property to where
mm,
people will be like, all right, we'll give you 3.5 to make this because this makes sense. It's a no
mm,
brainer. We've been told that.
mhm,
So that's next. And then I'm going to double back to Henry's Courage, the story of Henry Johnson and the 269th Regiment of the
mhm,
Harlem Hellfighters. So I'm going
mhm,
to double back to that. I may have a sponsor actually. So you'll
mhm.
be one of the first people to know, Alex, because, something that I've always wanted to do for you is just fly you out to a set whether
Oh
you're in it or
yeah.
not. That's the job. That's what I told myself I'm gonna do that. So
Well, I know you're in Augusta, bro, and I have family in Augusta. So, believe it or not, sometime in next month, December, I'm gonna be coming down. So, if I have the opportunity to come see you, I'm definitely going to do that. But yeah, man, I would love to. Whatever you, I have. It's funny. I will tell you off camera, but I have an idea of of a film I want to do. It's a black superhero, but it's like Arrow mixed in with Batman, but black. Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna shoot you that idea once we
so
once we
he's
get off
smart.
camera.
He's
Yeah, because
intelligent.
yeah, I'm still trying to get it copyrighted and everything. Iron details. It's funny. Before I want to ask you, before we get off camera, I wanted to ask you, what would you say to a up and coming filmmaker who has his script and he's worried about someone either stealing his idea, getting distribution, and also getting it made, getting the budget to get it made? What would you say are the core steps that filmmaker would have to do in order for him to get his project made? Because there are a lot of filmmakers in Hollywood, but if you don't have the money, it's not getting made.
Yeah, I was literally talking to an actor today about how you have to make sure because I've been privy to seeing people become successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been privy to see people become financially successful. That's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because success is we finished it and it's done and it's of quality. That's successful.
Mm-hmm.
Financially successful is you ain't got to worry about bills anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen all of that. And what I was telling him was that I think where a lot of people make their mistake is they don't hold their family, friends, and their community accountable. If people really believe in you, if they say they believe in you, they should have no problem giving $5 or $20 up to help
Mm-hmm.
you out.
Mm-hmm.
If they say they believe in you, then they more than likely don't believe in you. Word
Mm-hmm.
and deed goes hand in hand. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, especially with grassroots, when you're talking about doing a GoFundMe or you're doing a crowdfunding and stuff like that, you got to make sure that. And I had to learn this the hard way because I wasn't good at asking for money. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't good at starting campaigns and stuff. And um, right before COVID, oh, that's what it was. We were working on Henry's Courage. Yeah, right
Mm-hmm.
before we did A New Life, and
Mm-hmm.
COVID killed that because it was Delon was handling the crowdfunding page. Um,
Yeah.
I think they need to do a lot of research. Google's your friend. Figure out, okay, if I tell this story, who's it speaking to? Don't just say, oh, I feel great about it. I've had people come up to me with scripts and tell me the budget, and I'm like, for this, like, you want 11 million for this script? Like, you know,
Mm.
you have to understand the industry. You really do. Black Lightning is over 500,000 views. Had it had the same notoriety that anybody else with these short films on Star Wars or superheroes had, it would have catapulted,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go back now and I look and I say, man, all I needed was for one person in a comic book blog to write about it and share it. And that
Mm-hmm.
never happened. You see? And
Mm-hmm.
so having that understanding of that knowledge and understanding how films are, distributed, and uh, how, not just how you make it, because you can make it, right? I won Octavia Spencer's Facebook challenge with a 2-minute film, and it was
Yeah.
just me, Farley, and two other people on a bus on Mother's Day, and we rode the bus up and down, and I used my iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
my 4S, and
Mm-hmm.
I made that movie, and it looked better in the theater than people who spent 50,000 with a red camera.
Yeah.
Um, the thing is understanding the knowledge, really doing your research. Make number one thing, directors, get a shot list, shot list, shot list, shot list. You know, and then after that, figure out, how do I market this? Am I going to the festival circuit? Because festival circuit is 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize that you're writing a short film for 2 years in the festival.
Mm-hmm.
Black
Yeah.
Lightning went for almost 2.5 years. A feature is 3 years.
Wow.
You're pushing a film for 3 years. So
Wow.
actors, because they're working, their turnaround is so quick because they don't have to do any of the post production. Um, they're moving from film to film to film to film, but those films are people will ask about those films, for the feature films, for almost 3 years. That your last film, which may have been 2 years ago. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it takes a year to literally go out on a junket, the press junket, and talk about it from beginning to end, right? Especially if it's a film that's up for award season. They drop it in the fall maybe, and then they rock it in the spring and going into the summer, and then at the end of the year, that's when they tally up their money.
Mm-hmm.
But they shot it maybe 2 years prior. That's three
Wow.
years.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 years. So
Yeah.
so it's very important that they understand the business. You can be talented, you can want to make your vision. Um, I do things a little different,
Mm-hmm.
knowing what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
especially being an independent creator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and that I'm glad you dropped those gems because that's something that I'm definitely not necessarily struggling with, but getting a better understanding of the industry creative side, but also the business side of it as well. Because anything like, and you can attest to this, if you get into filmmaking thinking that you're going to make a lot of money or even make your money back, I'm not going to say you're in a rude awakening, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a
Well,
lot of work.
Alex, it starts with the creative concept. If
Yeah.
you make a concept that nobody cares about, of course you're not going to make your money back. But
Yeah.
if you create a concept where it is bankable, because that's what Hollywood does do sometimes, right?
Mhm.
The turnaround on a horror film is always big because people love to be scared.
Yeah.
Now, whether you make a shitty film or not, that has nothing to do with the studio. It has everything to do with you as a director or the writer or the producer. And, they know when it's bad, right? And
LeBron
so,
James. Sorry, I had to
right,
throw that.
you
Yeah.
can make money off of a short if you know what you're doing correctly.
Yeah.
It's not knowledge that's lost. It's out there. It's just that people rush and they move fast and they don't
Mhm.
think. They
Mhm.
move without concept.
Mhm. Okay. So yeah, yeah, like I firmly agree with that, man. So it's about definitely taking time and essentially getting all your ducks in a row. So it is something I am learning on a daily basis, but I'm so glad to have you on the show. Before we head out, why don't you tell the people where they can find you on social media and how they can watch your film A New Life and what other up and coming projects you may have coming up going into 2024?
Absolutely. So if you're on YouTube, you can go to my channel, Darkan Entertainment, Darkan Entertainment, and on there I have product reviews. I have clips of um, the New Life, interviews on a New Life, and just some inspirational and motivational stuff. And also you can watch Black Lightning, and all my old films are on there as well. So anyone that wants to follow that, you can also go to my production website, which is darkanent.com. And on there, I have all my posters and all the information in regards to my acting classes and all that stuff. And then I'm on Instagram, Darkon2000. Okay. DARKN 2000. Add me on there. And then I'm on A New Life. Okay. A New Life film on Instagram. You can go there. A New Life film on Instagram. And then Choice Skinner Photography. I do small budget DP, and I'm not no Alexa programming camera DP. But yeah, Choice Skinner Photography. I do photos, headshots, and stuff. If you want to do a headshot session, go there. We're also on Facebook, A New Life film on Facebook, and also Choice J Skinner, SKINNER, on Facebook.
Awesome, awesome. Now you know where to find him, guys. Choice is a phenomenal filmmaker, a phenomenal creator. I've learned so much just from watching him step by step. I'm going to ask James this, but I did want to ask you really quickly because it just came to mind. James also did a film during the pandemic called American Ronin. And I don't know if he's done with it or not. I know that I have to ask him, but I wanted to ask you, you were privy to that project as well. What
Yeah,
was it
that was the
like?
other one. That was the other one. I couldn't remember. And
What was it like working on that film?
oh, listen, man, you talking about insightful, innovative, talented, creative. I can't say enough about that young man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I grew up watching a lot. I grew up watching a lot of action stars. You know what I mean? Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of action stars, man. And, I've been in martial arts 39 years in January, it'll be 40 years.
Yeah, and you're in the
So,
whole Hall of Fame as well.
yeah, thank you. I
Yeah.
remember that. You remember that.
Yeah.
James, his mind and the way it works, man. There's not too many people that I, kind of like subserve myself to.
Mm-hmm.
Anything he wants goes on set because it's
Wow.
going to be right on the money. He knows what he wants. So I'm on him. Maybe you can get more on him about it. I'm on him. He's working really hard to get the funding because, when you do sci-fi and stuff like that, there's a lot of elements. And when we talk, because we talk at least maybe once a week or every other week, I'm on him about it because it's brilliant. It will change the landscape of action films, especially when it comes to black men. It'll change it because what he's looking to do with it, it's unreal. So I was right. Yeah, it was funny because right at the time of doing A New Life, I was doing that as well. It was a
Yeah.
1-day shoot in the alley, and he sent me some stuff that I don't know if you've seen it yet, but hopefully he'll share it with you. But
Uh-huh.
it was incredible what he did. He's tremendously talented, man. And so it will change. And I tell him all the time, man, just do a GoFundMe, man. You got enough people to follow you and believe in you. They'll fund it. He goes, I
Oh yeah.
know. I got to get this done first and that done first. I'm like, all right, I'm there when you need me. So
Yeah. Because from what he's put out already, I'm like, bro, when is this movie coming out, man? Because it looks phenomenal. And I can talk about this because he put it out. There's a I think it's still on his Facebook page, but there's a scene of him looking at a burning building.
yeah,
And God, this is the magic of filmmaking. He didn't have to set the thing on fire.
yeah,
It but it looks so real where it's like, bro, who did he fight? Like I want to know. So what I keep asking myself is who's the antagonist?
yeah,
Because if this is James,
yeah,
I can only imagine who he's fighting and what he
yeah,
has to go through. So I can't wait for that
yeah.
that film to come out, man.
Yeah, I can't wait for everyone to see it because that's always my wish is for him to be able to make it, for the world to be blessed by it, because it's really hard to get real entertainment nowadays. People are making stuff, but like I said, the commercial come on, are you going to continue watching it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I knew that with a new life that I had to, and even the way I set it up, I had a distribution manager who knocked me for my transitions, and he didn't realize that I understood the transitions are based on commercials.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't understand. He was like, "Your transition." I was like, "Hmm." I was like, "You must not know what commercials fit." You know what I'm saying? Like in those
Mm-hmm.
transitions and how they're done. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because regular cuts they can cut any way they want. If there's a transition, they go, "Okay, I'll just cut it here."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But listen, what do I know? This guy, he's the head of a major cable channel. So what do I know?
I mean, they cut. I mean, like we were talking about Tubi. If you watch Tubi, they'll cut in the middle of a dialogue scene to whatever they're
Don't
promoting.
know where to cut
They don't
because
know.
because all you have is cuts, right?
Yeah,
That
they
most
just.
filmmakers, that's what they do. They cut. They don't have transitions. That was
Yeah.
part of the reason. George Lucas did Star Wars. Those transitions that he has,
Mm-hmm.
he did that because it was based on Saturday morning cartoons or Saturday morning shows, like the
Mm-hmm.
shows, and that's how they would preempty it or move because of the fade ins, not the fade
Mm-hmm.
ins,
The
those
slide.
transitions. Yes,
Yeah.
so he
Yeah.
understood that, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the format that he went by with it. So being a filmmaker is not easy because people in charge, they think they know more, especially creatively.
Yeah. That's kind of the reason why a lot of people were, or at least SAG was on strike, because a lot of, well, not just from acting and paying, but the studios are doing things that are kind of, that don't necessarily serve the actors in a lot of ways. And it's funny you bring it up. The one, as you were talking, I kept thinking about how Josh Trank, who shot his Fantastic Four movie, and the studio just took it, and they basically edited and took things out and stuff. And I remember him coming out saying, "This is not my movie." Like, yeah.
Right. It happens more than what people realize. But listen, that
Yeah.
as an independent filmmaker, that's part of the reason why I'm independent, because
Yeah.
when you're dealing with a $90 million film, people are going to want what they want. They don't care about your talent and your vision. They care
Yeah.
about what their investors and what their stocks say. So, you
Yeah.
know, well, why do I have to put this person in? Because the algorithm says. See, AI has been around for a long time. Out.
Yeah.
There used to be a thing when I was acting, when I first started acting, called the Ulmer scale or the Ulmer chart. And it was a little
Mm,
book that went around Hollywood that
mm,
that had a scale and a charting of where people were at in their career and why
mm,
would you want to go with them, because it's always about getting the right elements to greenlight your film.
mhm,
And when IMDb came around, that dissolved that.
mhm.
What people don't know is that there were computer software that producers had already been using, telling them, you want Michael Keaton as Batman. So when that would happen, people were like, Michael
Wow.
Keaton? And they
Yeah.
didn't understand that the computer was the one telling them, you want Michael Keaton, you want Kim Basinger, it was based on a likability, you see.
So is that the reason why it worked? I mean, those are good movies, but is that the reason why it worked so well? Like,
Yes, no.
putting him in?
Yes and no. I mean, the likability factor, the people still have to show up and do what they got to do.
Right.
You can't have Michael Keaton and Kim Basinger show up, or Jack Nicholson, and they walk through the role. They still got to bring it.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger is the Joker. You remember the outcry? No, no,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Uh, and it wasn't until people saw the performance where they knew he was amazing. He was
Eh,
phenomenal.
there
And
hasn't been a better Joker since.
in my opinion, I agree. So, with
Yeah.
that being said,
Mhm.
the algorithm, the computer, the AI picked Heath Ledger,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But Heath Ledger showed up.
Yeah.
He did
He
his part.
did. He did. And I'm like, wow. But it's funny that you say that, because I mean, I always knew they had like a system in place, but I didn't know it was that fine detailed. Like,
Oh
so
yeah, oh
the
yeah. I
fact
knew
that,
about AI. Let's see, that was the Batman movie came out in '87. I
yeah,
think '87. Yeah,
yeah, it's before my time,
yeah.
before I was here.
It's and so when I got into acting,
Mhm.
man, it was the number one thing. Like I once I learned about that, I didn't take it personal anymore. I didn't take no personal no more. I
Mhm.
understood that producers, they were following software.
Mm-hmm. So does that defeat the purpose of auditioning to an extent?
Auditioning doesn't really exist. See, if it does, it exists on a lower scale. And
Ah.
where people get it twisted is they take it personal because they're sitting in a lobby and they get a phone call that the deal has been made, and actors will get different sides in the lobby and they don't understand why. And it's because the offers were sent out already. So
Wow. So what's the
casting,
point of casting calls then? Like aside from extras and
it's a way to
fillers.
back up just in case things don't go well. You have your first choice, your second choice, third, fourth, and fifth.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it a short list. You know, usually the short list is not Joe Schmo from Montana. The short list is the top five. It's Lakeith Stansfield. It's Derek Luke. People of that stature, because people want a name. You can go back and watch Tootsie and remember that scene with the agent,
Yeah.
where they said they want a name.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm a name. He goes, no, Michael Dorsey's a name you call when you want to send back a steak. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Why do you make me do that? And people don't realize that, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
until you become popular, which is why Instagram has done the damage that it's done.
Mm-hmm.
You have people who don't deserve or shouldn't be on film, but they are because they
Yeah.
have, over 500,000 followers. And what happened was, well, I blame the actors some, because actors got spoiled. You cannot be a part of a project and not want to support the project. Now I get it, with the SAG strike, they had no choice, right? Because SAG
Mm-hmm.
told them, don't do it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, there was always actors who, supported, maybe by putting it up one day and never ever talking about it again. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have a film that has no budget, right, and they get it made, they don't have any marketing funds.
Mm-hmm.
And what company is going to care about your film over this other film that has 5 names in it, that they're needing marketing funds? But here you got Joe Schmo from Montana.
Wow.
It's so what happened was that actors dropped the ball because they weren't saying, yo, like they have this sense sometimes of, privilege. Like, yeah, it's like, no, you need to support that film. You need to talk about it, scream it from the rooftops. Kendra was very instrumental on A New Life.
Oh
She got
yeah.
everybody to watch it. She held people accountable. You don't
Yeah.
watch my movie, we ain't talking.
Yeah.
Uh,
I saw that, and then she put it on TikTok too. Yeah, I saw that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Miss Joan, Mama
Mm-hmm.
Joan. And so for me, it was a thing of saying, and Jaleesa, I had my choirary. She was Renee Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
She was very helpful. These were people who were consistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But prior to that, you would see the independent market. People they don't believe that it's their job to support the film. So anyway, listen,
Mm-hmm.
the big studios don't have the marketing funds to promote, right? Because streaming came in and took a lot of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so the reason why they go with these Instagram followers, and I mean these Instagram names,
Actor or names. Yeah.
these influencers, is
Yeah.
because if I cast this person, even if I cast them at below the line, if I cast them at number 6 or number 7, they
Mm-hmm.
got 1.2 million followers. All I need is half of those people, if not a quarter, to watch the film because they follow them. It's dollars and cents.
I see what you're saying now. Okay, because of all they need is half. But what studios don't realize is that half of that is just bots. This.
Maybe depends on it depends. It depends
Uh-huh.
on the influencer, because a
That's
lot
true.
of
Yeah.
influencers are legitimate,
Yeah.
right? And all
Yeah.
it takes is one person to say, "Man, I watched this movie last night. Y'all got to go see it." If that person has 1.2 million followers, all I need is a quarter of those people to buy that film.
Mm-hmm.
250,000 people buying a film at $3.99 or $10.99. Do the
Dang,
math.
that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Do the math.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't even
if
think about
all
that.
if all 1 million of them do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? If all 1 million of that, we just say, just in the ethos, 1 million of their
Mm-hmm.
followers watch that movie.
At 10.99. Oh my god. You won't have to work for the rest of your life.
I'm
And
just saying.
after you pay, like if it's on Prime, after you pay Amazon their cut, you're still good. Like, wow. Like, dang. I
And
didn't even think
that's
about it like that.
that's why that's like that.
Wow. Okay, so that definitely makes sense now. Now that you broke it down, I'm like, oh, okay, man. So it's like, okay, so wow. So I've learned a lot from you, and I don't want to keep you because I know you have other things going on. But I appreciate you coming on the show, man. And thank you for giving us where we can watch the films and stuff like that. Guys who are watching me, please like, comment, and subscribe, like it says on the bottom of the screen. And go follow Choice, man. Like, go follow his YouTube channel and go follow all his content because there's so many things that you can watch and also learn from. And this brother is
Yeah.
always dropping gems, and go to his website as well because he does do acting classes as well. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Choice, I want to thank you for being on the show.
You know I
As
love you.
always,
Al.
you
You know
oh
that, brother.
it oh anytime, man, anytime. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a blessed day. So I'm gonna
Peace.
end the stream real quick. Hold on.